Welcome to Internet Anytime number 9. You guys are
Yay!
looking good.
Home edition.
So
Home
so
edition.
much so much has been happening this week, you guys. Obviously,
Oh,
we've had riots at the Capitol. COVID numbers are higher than ever. Michael and I went and played tennis.
oh, what?
The news.
Yay! Dudes
So,
playing boy ball.
well, it's not boy ball. I mean, tennis could be anybody's ball. That's like such a
Boy ball, I mean,
yeah.
like, you guys are boys playing with balls.
Yeah, that's fair. We were boys playing with balls
Yes.
in
Yes.
a sports like way.
Yeah. In the athletic kind of way.
Well,
In
sometimes
a in
sometimes
a
when Michael turned his
casual way.
back, I would lick the tennis balls in a sexual way, but he didn't see that. It was only
Oh, how convenient. So we can't ask for, like, proof. We can't ask for Michael to corroborate your story.
Uh, yeah.
Were the were the balls moist, Michael?
Well, after a point, yeah, I thought it was, but I just thought it was like sweat or something. But now it's making more
Ah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. He thought it was rolling around in the puddle because it was all brown, but really I had put that tennis ball somewhere
Yeah.
special.
oh no. This
Oh, the
definitely
shock face.
took a turn. This
Yeah,
this
I was
turn
trying
took
to steer the conversation more towards like the riots at the Capitol and how they shot that lady. Have you guys seen the footage of that lady being shot?
Yeah.
no. I
Yeah.
haven't seen that yet.
I've actually seen it a couple of
Oh.
times. I've actually seen like later, like as time progressed, I got to see like different angles. There
Yeah.
was
What?
like,
Okay.
yeah, there was a couple of people that were able to catch video of it.
The-
Yeah, it's
yeah.
gnarly.
I'm surprised more people weren't shot. Like, honestly,
Me
just one
too.
person, like, come on, if that was Black Lives Matter, like, everybody, they would have just mowed people down. They wouldn't have asked questions. Someone would have just taken one step.
No
They would have
one.
gotten nowhere near the door.
That's what I was gonna say. They wouldn't have even reached the Capitol building if it
Yes.
was like a Lives Matter protest or something like that. Yeah.
And they didn't even arrest that many people. That's the part where I'm like, I thought, like, okay, yeah, these people got in there, but at least, these people got arrested. No! Most of these people didn't even get
Well,
arrested.
no. Well, actually, so they are arresting people more and more, and
They are.
they did arrest a decent amount of people. I think they arrested around 100 people. I think the actual number was like 93 on the day, and then
No,
Out
they
of
I heard on the day
thousands
it
of
was like
people?
14. It was like
Out
no,
of
14 people.
thousands of people?
no, it was
That
93.
that still does not make sense. Out of thousands of people, 93?
Does
Uh,
it
Out of
count? Does
all.
it count arrests like from that night when there were people were still out on the street that night? Were they
yeah,
arresting? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So that day, and then since then
For
they've
the
done
whole
people have got.
day?
But
Come on.
Daniela, but if you look at lots of other protests in the country, the numbers are comparable
But
for
this was not a protest. That is why it is bad. This was not a protest. They went into the Senate building. The numbers
it's
shouldn't be comparable to peaceful protests.
it started off as a protest, but then of course people went into the building and somebody was like, I mean, in order to stop it,
Yeah,
they shot and killed somebody, and that's when it kind of backed down because they're like, oh, okay, this is like serious. Of course it's sort of a bunch of clowns, these Trump
Yeah.
supporters talk a lot of game and it's like, oh, they're a militia and stuff, but it's just like some hipster dudes in Vikings costumes yelling a lot with low IQs. I mean,
Yeah,
I
when
don't
they got in the
but
building,
they
they
should
were
have
just kind of
never
like,
been able to even get into the building.
no.
That's like,
well, the
Yeah.
why
cops
were they
opening the
able to
we
go?
see we see the footage of the cops opening the barricades, and that's
Yeah.
obviously horrible. And there's investigations
That's
now. I can't remember which
ridiculous.
congressman is setting up an investigation like of which Capitol Police have ties to white supremacist groups and
Mhm.
ties to Proud Boys, and that's what needs to
Oh,
happen. That's
there,
what the systemic change is if like we need to look at cops individually and
yeah,
really put people on the force that are not associated with yeah.
people that aren't sympathetic to the cause, because people were taking, not people, police officers were taking selfies. They were taking selfies. Come
There was
on.
Well,
there
but they were
was
taking selfies at Black Lives Matter protests too.
This was not that.
you
This was
can't
not that.
compare it though.
That
It's not
these are
comparable.
white
It's not
supremacists.
comparable.
These are white supremacists talking about taking over the government and people that are mad because people are getting killed. You can't compare them. They are not one and the same. When it's actual injustice and these are people mad because their guy didn't win the election and they're willing to take over the Senate building for it. We had people sitting down in the streets for Black Lives Matter protests and they were getting tear gas, hit with rubber bullets, mace, and
I
that's
agree.
not even what these people face. Like, you can't even compare the two. One was a peaceful protest.
They did get tear gas.
They did, okay, but that was like later on, and not everyone. It was more police getting tear gas than tear gas of the protesters.
That's not true. But I agree with you that obviously the cause
I wouldn't even don't
of them like protesting their like fake election loss is like a bunch of garbage. They do have the right to protest for whatever they want.
The right to protest.
But obviously breaking windows in the government building like that, like, what do you expect?
There was a guy that was actually fighting a group of police officers, and they're like, this peaceful protester, he's literally fighting the police in this picture.
Yeah, but in Minneapolis, Daniela, they burned down an entire police precinct.
They did.
And they rooted and ransacked that. So you know, to say that like other protests are nonviolent is not true. Violent.
No, I did not say the other protests weren't violent. But for the Black Lives Matter protests, before the protests even happened, they were calling them riots. They were saying, oh, the people are going to be rioting. The whole tone.
And hey, I think that the burning down of the police station was justified, and they should have done it. And I'm like, woo, get it done. I don't think breaking into the Capitol over Trump's election by any means is justified.
I'm not
and the reasons are not
kind of destruction of property.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that's the truth, is that we shouldn't condone any destruction of property. It's true. But the police in Minneapolis, in a way, you know, I mean, had it coming and set that up for themselves.
Well, yeah, it's about context, right? You know, the reasoning behind what the destruction that happened, like the police burning down in Minneapolis, the reason behind it, the reason why people did that versus why the Capitol building was attacked the other day are completely different reasons. You know what I mean? The one is a little bit more justified than the other.
So yeah, in our minds, which are the correct minds, or at least based on like factual things, unlike these people who are like storming the Capitol over an election that they decided that they didn't lose.
And conspiracy theories, yeah, like
right.
You know,
they're crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, they're crazy, and it spread to the world. You know, my family is like from the Czech Republic, from Prague, and I was on Czech Reddit today actually, and somebody sent a photo of like one of the main bridges in Prague, and there was like a pro-Trump protest going on, like people with Trump flags and stuff. Yeah, because QAnon has spread all over the world. Like it's in Germany really big.
Fascism, like in Europe, fascism,
surprise.
White supremacy and fascism is kind of it's growing in Europe.
Well, growing and not growing. So like in Slovakia, where my friends live, you know, I discussed with them, and I mean their government and the people there are so much more openly racist and pro-Christian than anything we could ever dream of. I mean, just because there's so few, I mean, you know, there's a big city there. So yes, there are some black people there, some Muslims, but I mean, it is so small. You know, it's nothing like what we have in anything in the United States, not even in Cleveland or whatever, you know? And so, yeah, the rhetoric there, it's so over the top, you wouldn't even believe it. I mean, it makes our right wing look silly.
Oh, so it's always, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look where it is.
No, they have straight up like openly neo-Nazi parties represented in their House of Representatives and Parliament or whatever. I mean, we are coming close to that, or, you know, in our minds they are that, but
I would like to not.
Right, but there it's like they're just in it, yeah. And then, but anyway, so yeah, the footage of that woman getting shot is pretty horrific. She just sort of bleeds out at first. After the shots fired, you hear a bunch of people say like, oh, it was a sandbag, or I can't remember exactly what the quote was, but somebody yells, it was just a blah, blah, blah. And then they like rush up to her, and her mouth and nose are just bleeding out. And she's just, ugh.
Yeah. Lost my train of thought, but Yeah, there was just a lot of gnarly footage going on.
I like the footage of the one guy. Oh, that was funny. Did you guys see Via Getty?
Yes, Via Getty, and everyone thought his name was Via Getty. Yeah.
So this CNN reporter, I think it was CNN or New York Times, posted a picture. There was a guy, and he had stolen like the podium that sits in the Senate, and he's just got this dumbass grin on his face and a
And he's
stocking
waving. He
cap.
waves. He's holding the podium, waving
Yeah.
at the camera,
I've
and he
seen
has like a
that
beanie,
picture.
has like a beanie on.
Yeah, he's gonna be on, and the caption is like, "Via Getty, a protester steals blah 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 blah," and Getty is Getty Images, which is just like a news organization that hires photographers as freelancers, and they sell their images to it. So they're like Via Getty Images, but then all these dumbasses were like, "Oh, his name is Via Getty."
Yeah, I saw.
Like
You can find like posts like they know his name, Via Getty. Why isn't he arrested?
what kind of a stupid name is Via Getty anyway?
That's not surprising. That's not surprising. Based upon what we've learned about the American people.
Yeah.
So that was good. Georgia Senate races, though, were won by the Democrats, which I totally didn't expect or have faith was going to happen. But like the fact that we have a fully Democratic government going forward for the next 2 years is amazing.
That is, it's a Democrat majority, slim majority, but there's a majority. I'm going to be optimistic until something happens for me not to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about it. It's
that's the main thing for actually causing change. That's the main thing for actually causing change. The president needs a Democrat Senate to actually back him up, and that's what happened with Obama. It was a Republican Senate, so he couldn't actually get anything passed. Everything he tried to do, they just shut him down.
Shut everything down. Yeah, Mitch McConnell. That was the biggest thing, was getting Mitch McConnell out of the majority seat. That'll make a big difference, hopefully.
He's lost favor with his base.
Isn't that crazy? Like Trump is tearing everything apart. You know what I mean? Like now all these people they're like eating each other out. I'm sorry, not eating each other out.
Tearing each other apart.
Yeah, they're tearing each other apart.
And it's like if someone shows some kind of like logic, they're like, "Oh no, you're anti-Trump." Like no, like we voted and he lost. Like
I mean,
can't we just go with that?
They're accusing like they accuse like Mitch McConnell. They're accusing like the governor of Georgia, Kemp, and like they accuse those guys of being like left wing, or like being in part of the deep state.
Yeah.
And they're part of the like. It's like, what are you guys fucking crazy?
Like seriously. They just make up stuff and then they report on it. Be like, I just had this thought, but it might be true, guys. Mitch McConnell, he has a secret love child with Barack Obama and Michelle. Like, what? But then they think that if someone repeats something enough, it becomes like the Trump conspiracy theory fact.
I saw a quote earlier today, on Twitter. Someone said, Trump lost the Senate, Trump lost the House, Trump's, he lost Congress, he lost Georgia. Mitch McConnell's now the minority leader, and then at the bottom he said, "Oh my God, it's true," or something like that. He says like, "Oh, it's true that Trump really did make America great again." Like that was a point that it's a Democratic, hopefully run House. Did Daniella freeze?
She did. It's kind of funny.
Oh, okay. I thought she was ignoring me. That's why I was kind of stuttering. I was like, what? Yeah.
Daniella, let us know if and how you need to rejoin, or if you can still hear us. I don't know.
All right.
Something I found interesting definitely was how much Mitch McConnell won his election by, and then his state had the certain kind of voting machines that have been, they're owned by Republicans.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you looked into much about the voting machines, but there's two main kinds, and
there's Dominion is one of the big names, and then I
Right.
can't remember the other one. But yeah, they're owned by conservative groups or conservative companies.
Yeah, and that one, not Dominion, but the other one is the one in
Mhm.
Connell, and actually that one has proven, not like Dominion, but the other one has had many problems, and it sounds like it's easily breachable, like easily hackable, and
Yeah,
there's very
there's
poor safety restrictions. I mean, it really sounds like anybody can just bust into these machines or into the vote tallying system and just enter in some numbers. That's what it seems
yes,
like. And
they
and and
seem.
mhm.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that that they seem very easy. They have like hacking conventions where these people, that's what they do. They prove, people have actually shown how
Right,
easy it is to get into these machines and kind of manipulate them.
right. I mean, if I was a 19-year-old hacker, you better believe I'd be up in that business, fucking around. I don't even know if I would do it, but like I'd be close. I'd get there.
Yeah.
Because that's the
Uh,
kind of like thing you want to push.
so him, Mitch McConnell, and Lindsey Graham, both of those guys,
Yes,
people have
sketchy.
questioned about their numbers, like it doesn't really correlate with the rest of like the rest of the
Because
ticket.
yeah, because I saw in Kentucky, right? It was like 1.1 million votes for Mitch McConnell and like 750,000 for
Mhm.
Amy McGrath, I think is her name or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And with just all the hype going into it and stuff, and how everybody
Yeah.
seems so pissed at him there, which is hard to say with like, the few people who egg his house or whatever the fuck they do, what's representative of Kentucky. But I mean, yeah, it seems real sketchy by 300,000 votes. Every other race is so close. In Georgia, Democrats win the seats. It's right there. That's more South than Kentucky in some ways.
Hmm. And
Like
not only like the thing too is that McConnell really doesn't really have to do anything. It's not like he has to tell anyone to do it. It's because he represents a lot of corporations and people with the money, people that have a really vested interest of keeping him in office.
oh my God, it could be like a one sentence exchange for him. You know what I
He
mean?
doesn't even have to say anything, because I
Yeah.
could totally imagine people just taking it upon themselves, like, no, we need to keep this guy in
Right.
office,
Right.
so they're doing it on his behalf, whether he may not even know it.
And they were so close, dude. Had one of those Georgia seats gone Republican, he would be in power for the next whatever 4 years. Again,
Hmm.
stifling. What did they say since he's been majority leader? 2 bills have passed.
Yeah,
They've
crazy.
literally done nothing. And
Yeah.
so, and that's the goal. That's the platform. Like, come up with your own plan. Come up with nothing. It's literally doing nothing. That is your idea of what the role of government is supposed to be. It's truly like letting citizens and capitalism let the chips fall where they may, and we have no business. We're elected officials, but we have no business talking into people's business. It's like, no, that's why you're there, actually. It's to like help protect us.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they're looking now for the corporations and the wealthy folks, and they're just forgetting about everyone else underneath that. We need people like them. We need them to represent literally the people. They forget that there's actually people that they're representing.
So we don't have an unlimited meeting anymore. They were letting us do it over Christmas. So at 40 minutes, we're going to run out. Then maybe would you create a second meeting and we'll go for another 40 minutes.
Yeah, I
Just
can
because
do that.
maybe they might not let me do it right away. Daniela
Okay.
is, I don't know. I don't know what happened to her. I will try to invite her again. Text her. But yeah, we still have 9 minutes in this.
Okay.
Oh, it says she said back at 7:36. Was that just now? Oh, she said my power went out. Can't do anything until the Wi-Fi comes back. Oh, her power went out, she says, and her Wi-Fi
Okay.
is gone. That sucks. But that's okay. Me and you, let's just keep going. At least till the end of this. I'm
All
gonna
right. So
ask her
that
if she.
makes. I
Yes.
don't know they had unlimited over the holidays. That makes sense because we did go over like the 45 minutes last time, and
Yeah, it was certain dates. It wasn't New Year's Eve wasn't included, but it was like right up to New Year's Eve. It was like December 30th. It was like December 20th to December 30th. They had a bunch of days where it was
okay.
all clear, and they did it for Thanksgiving too. But like, who cares? I mean, you can just re-sign in, or people were like, "Fuck, that sucks," because like 40 minutes is like the saving grace of like, "Goodbye, family, I'm gonna go away." You know, now you gotta like sit there for 3 hours, and so I feel that.
I would love to stay, guys. I really would, but just
Right.
too bad. Oh, shucks. Yeah. Um, I'm looking it up right now. Like Trump permanently got banned from Twitter.
Yes, yeah, that's amazing and so good. It's just he is inciting these problems. That's the problem. It's like
Uh-huh.
him having a voice and humans in general. You know, I was just thinking about how like if you had an idea or an opinion in the 90s or whatever, it was really hard to get your opinion heard. You know, you
Mhm.
could write a letter to your newspaper, maybe they would publish an opinion thing, you know, or you really had to go like find a speech or like your church or synagogue, you know, or a school board meeting, like somewhere where like some people congregate so you can be heard, you know.
Yeah.
So all these people's crazy ideas, not only could they not spout them off to a large group of people that will see them, but there would also be no feedback or interaction, you know. That's like another thing too, is either there's encouragement or there's people who disagree with you, which in some ways with these people it makes them like angrier and want to fight back more, right? You know,
Yeah,
it's almost mm-hmm,
they kind of they dig in more when people kind of give them pushback.
mm-hmm. And I think now what's going to happen, I think this will happen, is that they're going to break up these companies a bit and they're going to put restrictions on it so that people can't just post like freely. I think that
Yeah.
every single post you make will be somehow, there'll be like a hour or two before it goes up. You know, I think there's going to be severe
Mm.
censorship of it.
See, that's a problem though, because then you
No,
kind
it's
of worry.
not.
Well, no. It's good because you do want some of these crackpots and some of these like that. What's happening right now? You don't want these people to like these like fascists to grow and get bigger and be able to connect with one another. But it also becomes a weird like gray area where there's going to be some people. It gives them an excuse to censor any kind of speech. So they're going to be censoring the right
But
kind
they
of speech, but
can. They can
it's the
censor whatever they want. They're private companies.
no. You're right.
And other and it's going to allow other competitive companies like already the right wing Parlor thing, right?
Uh-huh.
Where
Well,
people
even
can go and say whatever they want.
Parler's kind of getting shut down too. Google took them off of their apps,
Oh,
so you
really?
can't download anymore. And I think Apple is going to do the same thing tomorrow, from what I understand.
Good.
And then like Reddit, they took down the subreddit, the Donald, and they like got rid of the moderator of some other. I think maybe it was our conservative.
Yeah.
I think it might have been that or our no. It was the subreddit conspiracies, our conspiracies.
Okay. Yeah, I've looked at the conspiracies one or whatever. I mean, there is just and they should be taken down. People do
Mhm.
not have the right. They have the right to free speech, but they don't have the right to giant audiences. They don't have the right to have a technology company publish their thoughts. That's what at the end of the day, Facebook and Twitter and Zoom, they're all publishing companies. They're
They're
choosing to
well,
publish our content, and they don't have to.
but they don't. They're private companies. They're not publishing companies because isn't
Well,
publishing companies?
no. Publishing is not public. Publishing is like Simon and Schuster or the New York Times. It's a
No,
publisher.
that's what I was
They're not
gonna
public.
say. They're not, but that's the thing though, that they don't. They're not exactly like they're not considered a publishing company or something like that because they're not under the same kind of
They're not
right
considered
now.
press. They're not liable.
Yeah, liable. The liability isn't there because it's whoever wants to put it up there.
Right. Like if somebody in if the New York Times writes shit about Michael Gonzalez, you can sue them. You can sue the person who
Exactly.
wrote it and the New York Times. You can't
And the
sue,
New York Times.
right? And there's
Yeah,
a
and
law that was written in 1996.
yeah.
It's an old law, and they are going to change that as they should. I don't know why it even applies to technology companies. I mean, obviously, our government didn't have the foresight to deal with them. But the owner of these companies, you know, obviously, you look at Mark Zuckerberg, and obviously he is. I mean, anytime you see him talk, and of course, anything you read about his history, he is such a fish out of water. He is in so far over his head. This person did not
Uh-huh.
sign up for this responsibility. This person was trying to get laid in college. Yes, he is smart enough to get into Harvard, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, so with this
Yeah.
person's decision making and stuff, it needs to be taken away. He has way too much power, you
Mhm.
know, and doesn't know how to handle it. Doesn't even know how to talk barely, you know, it's just like sweaty and awkward.
He's an android. He's a goddamn android.
He's kind of the worst. I don't think I would have
Yeah.
liked him if I would have met him, because we're approximately the same age. I think he might be a year or two younger than me, or maybe like your age. So he's like 38 or something. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that I would have liked in my early 20s, or, you know, I went to Colgate. I visited Harvard where my friend went in while I was at Colgate and spent a couple days there. I would not have liked Mark Zuckerberg or Jared. Ugh.
The worst, right? You know, yeah, you can't.
And they're Jews like me. It's fucking embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah, you really can't put a label on people just because they went to an Ivy League school.
Well, so something that so Colgate University, where I went, it's right underneath an Ivy League school. So like, you know, your sibling went to Dartmouth and you go to Colgate. There's like movies where people look through acceptance letters and they get into Colgate. I worked really hard to get into that school. But when I got there, what I realized is that there was a lot of people who were there because their parents went there, or because their parents had donated a lot of money.
Yeah.
Or just because they had gone, there was a system in place on the East Coast. Like there's these East Coast and they're here too, I guess. They're all over the country. There are these private boarding schools like Exeter, and
they got funneling schools where they start, you go here and it's the intention is to
the guidance counselor has a relationship with the admissions director. And just because you went to this private school, like, and granted, these kids were intelligent per se, so you definitely had to get a certain score on your ACTs or SATs, so you had to be there. But some of these kids, I knew they didn't have like necessarily the great grades. They just went to like a great private school.
They had they had parents that donated to the university.
There was
to the college.
I would say so many of the people there were legacies. You know, I'd never even heard of this. And so I was just like, fuck this. Like, these kids are already driving Land Rovers, you know, and Range Rovers. And I'm out here like working at the library. I mean, I must have told the story where I had a job at the school library and I was pushing a cart around in the morning. Like my job was to file magazines back on the shelves, and these frat dudes were rushing me to their frat, and they're like, Jacob, you're so crazy messing with the library right now. You just like took a card and put things on the shelf. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is a job. I'm like, I'm getting $10 an hour. Yes, they like did not get it. Like that I had a student job.
They thought you were just doing that for fun, or
that I was like a fucking wild boy, because I like broke my nose and shit like that. Oh my god, I have so many stories like that there. That was hilarious. Our session is about to end, but yeah, that was like a very eye-opening moment. We'll just let it end. Like to me, where I was just like, what the fuck? Like they really, you know, and
Jacob's such a wild